Olukunle.
Yes, thank you for having me, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone, wherever you are hearing me. So it's just like Winfred have said about this paper. So it's about the manner of tree propagation for some native threatened trees in Nigeria. So, and this project started, as you have heard from the abstract, November 2015. It's a 8 years project. So I would like to let us just look at the types of conservation metrics that is encompassed with this project, like the biodiversity metrics, the species population trends, and the extinction risk reduction. So this project covers these conservation metrics, the ecosystem services metrics, which has to do with the population pollination services and carbon sequestration. So it's part of those things. Even on the biodiversity metrics. So part of the thing that this project cover is habitat quality and quantity also. Then the extinction risk reduction is part of what it covers. And also the socioeconomic metrics, which has to do with the community engagements, the conservation partners, the participation of people, then the economic benefit of these species of trees that we worked on. Then also the last one is the climate change metrics, which has to do with the carbon offsetting, climate resilience, and also the greenhouse gas reduction. So I will start with the introduction. So, and I will let you know that this project has to do with the propagation of trees, most importantly, the native trees of Nigeria. And, after you have propagated trees, you need to do planting. So it has to do with tree propagation and reforestation. So to restore the lost environmental and socioeconomic values associated with trees. So reforestation, that is what reforestation is all about. So practical conservation activities that aims at that. So it's usually conducted across the stop areas, degraded forest, farmland, and also urban centers. So the crucial thing about the success of any reforestation program is the choice of species. This is to maximize specific benefit. So now, when we talk about the choice of species, a lot of people prefer to use non-native trees, which I call the alien species, the exotic species. So the reason why people prefer these ones are because of the fast growing, they are fast growing, so they have stress tolerance, and they also have some ornamental appeal, and they grow so fast, and you can see them having their fruit in time, so they can give you the income, some sort of income. You can generate income in a very little while. So now it has been reported that they have negative impact, some of which include the landscape and biodiversity and biotic homogenization. So this you can see if you have a place where Lucina leucocephala is being planted, or Tectona grandis, which we always call teak, or Melina. These are the species that are not native to Nigeria or Africa. So you can move kilometers and you see some of these species because they produce seeds in large numbers. So they will cover large expanse of land without any other species in among them. So alteration of ecosystem services and functions. So there are some of our wildlife that are not used to some of these non-native trees, and you see some of them displacing our natural biotics. So like most importantly, the wildlife that we have, our birds, our insects. So they might not like the kind of flower or the fruits that some of these non-native trees are producing. So this reduced regeneration rate of native trees due to competition for resources. So the thing is that the non-native tree species, they have some sort of allelopathic property. They inhibit the growth of any other thing around them. So that is why. So it's difficult for native trees to compete with these non-native species. So now the issue we are having with the native tree species, using them in reforestation in Africa. So it's because we lack some information about their location, whether they can be found in certain provenance or the other, then the availability of seeds and suitable propagation techniques. So those are the major impediments that we have. So now breaking the propagation barriers could therefore improve the use of these native trees for reforestation in Africa. So now this project, we selected 55 non-native tree species. So we propagated them and they were studied carefully to develop manual for tree propagation. So the Nigeria Threatened Trees Project has significantly contributed to this respect and its impact are presented here. So as I've said earlier, the 55 species were focused on, and we focus on their conservation status, the status which we link with the International Union for Conservation of Nature, the IUCN. So we check all of them. So they are either vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered. So we find them to be on the IUCN red list. Then the availability of proper goods. So we look at that and our budget for travel and collection. So we have two implementation strategies for this particular project, which is tree propagation and capacity building. Then these are the study sites that we've worked on. These are our study sites. We collected from the parent tree in 7 forest patches across the state in Southern Africa. We have 2 forests in Ogun State. That is Omo Forest Reserve and Olokemeji Forest Reserve. We have another forest in Ondo State, one in Ondo State, which is Queen's Forest Reserve in Ondo State, in Akure, Ondo State. Okomu National Park, which is in Edo State. That is the only forest that fell into South-South. Then we have a forest in Ekiti Forest Reserve. We have that in Ekiti State. Emirat Forest Reserve, Ikoyi, Osun State. Then the IHA Forest Reserve in Oyo State. Then the data collections. So we collected data on each of the parent tree. So we collect based on the estimated number of seeds and self-sown seedlings of each species. So the self-sown seedlings of each species, they are the one we refer to as widelings. So on each of these parent tree, we collected their plant heights. So we take the diameter at breast height of those ones that are greater than 10 cm. Then we also take the geographic coordinates of each of the parent plants. So in case of any future collection, sometimes you get to some tree and you will not find seeds. So you need to come back maybe a month or 2 to really get the what you want. I mean, the planting work. And there is a standard for the collection. So only 20% of fruit or seeds were collected from each mother tree. So this is a standard from Botanical Garden Conservation International. So they build capacity with our staff to ensure that we follow this standard. And this standard is basically for the purpose of conservation. So these are the tree propagation protocols that we follow. These are the tree propagation for like seed collection. So as I've explained before, like for this seed collection, we do site and tree assessment. So we assess the sites, we look at some of our list, those ones that we can find in certain forests or the other, and we also we check things from literature, past work that people have done. We also check for the fruiting duration for each of those species. Like sometimes you also see that, okay, this one is fruiting now, and we know the duration, because sometimes there will be fruiting and the fruits are not ready for collection. So we need to know the fruiting duration. Maybe it fruits for 2 months or 3 months, then we can do the collection. Then after the seed collection, we do seed propagation. This we do extraction and viability test. The extraction is to ensure that, okay, the seeds are taken out of their pods and they have different kinds of pods like that, depending on the species, and the viability test has been carried out. But sometimes we use water to do that. Those ones that are the floating method, we use that. Sometimes we try to remove the good seeds from the bad one. So we do sorting. So we use sorting method also to do that. So the dormancy breaking, so sometimes we use acid. So we use acid to do the dormancy breaking. Sometimes we use a hammer, depending on the kind of seeds. So because we have, from all the seeds we've collected so far, we have two types of seeds: the recalcitrant, those ones that cannot be stored for a very long time. Immediately we get such kinds of seeds, we do direct sowing. So those are the recalcitrant seeds, just like the seeds of tomato. So you cannot store it for a long period of time. So we also have another one, which are orthodox. So they have hard coats. Those ones you can break with the hammer or blade, or you use acid scarification. So depending on the thickness of the coat. So after which we do sewing, the pricking out is done after, after the sewing, you could do pricking out depending on the point of sewing, where you are planting your seed. If you are doing direct sowing, there's no need of pricking them out, or if you put them in nursery beds, so you could do pricking out like a transplanting way of things. So then the hardening off. The hardening off is before you do the planting out of each of the ready kind of seedlings, the saplings that are ready for planting. So we do hardening up for them in the nursery. So what we do is that we've been giving them water throughout the weeks. So we could reduce it to 3 times in a week, 4 times in a week, or we just do it once a week. So this is done to ensure that they are exposed to some kind of stress they are going to face in the permanent field. So we do that. Sometimes we might have been giving them some full shade. So we remove the shade gradually to remove them permanently. So before they will now plant them out. So on the day of planting, we water heavily. So then we plant out. So this is to ensure higher survival rate for our seedlings planted in the field. Then the tending operations that we do in the nursery, generally, just like you have your home gardens, you do watering. So the watering has to be done when we don't have rain. Then the weeding is very, very important to avoid competition. Then the grading and maintenance. So the grading is very important for some seedlings that don't have very good shape. They are not vigorous, so you take them out. Maybe those ones that look sick, so you take them out and you maintain your seedlings very well. So maybe they need pruning, they need some sort of kind of trimming to do that. And we've talked about the seed propagation. So the tests were performed in the project nursery, and resulting seedlings were planted in Tree Heritage Park. So the Tree Heritage Park is more like we call it a Noah's Ark in IITA. So that is where we conserve all these threatened trees, because the Tree Heritage Park has a lot of species of trees before we started this project in 2015. But so many of them are quite full of exotic species. We took out the exotic species and we replaced with native trees. So Tree Heritage Park is in IITA forest. So we do this in Tree Heritage Park, which is well protected. So, and also outside the IITA campus. So these are the same things that I've talked about here. So this just like an example of seed extraction and cleaning that we do. This is for 2 species. This is Afzelia africana inside the pod. So this is the extracted seeds. So you could see this one look magnificent, but this is how we do it. We take them out and we clean it. So only the good seeds are kept for sowing. So this is another species, Teculia oblonga. You can see their IUCN status here. They are vulnerable. So this is Teculia oblonga. So they are the 2 threatened species, just to show us. So we can see the extracted seeds for this. So we have some set of people that came recently for training. So this is part of the strategies that we use in this project. So they are doing seed extraction, the Crescendo Africa from Jos. We have 3 of them as men and one lady here. So doing extraction of diverse seeds of threatened native tree species. So this is for seed propagation. So this is here, I was preparing seed for sowing here. I'm preparing the seeds for sowing using diverse methods. So during this project, we build capacity with a lot of people, a lot of conservation partners. So preparing, so this is where we sow them. This is the potted seedlings. So we have some seedlings inside the pot here. And this is the nursery bed. The nursing bed, we nurse the trees here in the nursery. Now we have the propagation media that we normally use. So this is one of the propagation media we normally use, depending on the type of species and the requirements for that particular species. This is river sand. So we take river sand, we clean it, we remove any form of debris, and we can put it in a very safe area. You know, we put cover sometimes, depending on the season. If we're to be in the dry and rainy season, so there's no need of putting cover. So, but for the rainy season, we try to put cover so that erosion will not wash away propagation media. And this is another one we call the cured sawdust. This is cured sawdust, more like a kind of composted material. So that's the fine sawdust. So it also helps in germination. It aids germination of some certain species of trees. And we also use the normal forest topsoil. It's part of those things we use. So, and for each of those protocol in which I've described earlier, so we do it for each of the species. And when you get to IHA Forest Center website, this is the kind of thing you are going to see if you put any of those species on the website, on our online manual of tree propagation. So you are going to see the name of that species. You are going to see everything about it, how the seeds, how you can collect the seeds yourself, the method you are going to use. So whether you need to sow directly, whether you put in sawdust, whether you put in river sand or topsoil, and the number of days that is going to germinate and the percentage of germination, all those things are there on our website for each of those 55 species. So these are the quantitative and qualitative metrics that we use. So just to measure the impact of this project. So we use 3 approaches. So tracking the number of downloads of manual of propagation using Google Analytics. So we also estimate the level of local capacity for tree propagation initiated during the project implementation. And we interview project beneficiaries. We interview our students, we interview the conservation partners, we interview a lot of people that came for training just to see the impact of this particular. So a descriptive analysis was conducted using Microsoft Excel to determine the skills acquired through the manual of tree propagation and the application level. So these are the table that shows the number of people trained in tree propagation, as it was read to us in the abstract. So close to about 150 people were trained during this. So in different levels, so seed collecting trips. So if you go for seed collection in some of the 7 forest reserves, so we build capacity with forest rangers, build capacity with some of the forest officers also. And a lot of people, community people are also joining to really know about some of these this project. So you can see the staff training, the Crescendo Africa that came. So that is the number of people trained tree propagation. So this is the result of the number of downloads of the manual of tree propagation across countries. So those in red, they are the one from the Africa. So you could see some trees you can find. Nigeria is leading quite right. So, but the species of trees, the floristic kind of trees you can find in Ghana, in Nigeria, you still find in Ghana, Benin Republic, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, and the DR Congo, including Uganda. So we have similar floristics attributes like that. So this is the number of downloads for the manual of tree propagation for the 55 native tree species. So, and this shows how people download on each of them. So, and Gambia Abida is taking the lead, followed by Tetrapleura tetaptera and Garcinia cola. So why you will see for Garcinia cola, a lot of people are downloading it purposely because it's highly medicinal. It can solve a lot of problems. So it can solve, like maybe somebody is having cough, and tetraflora is a very good spice that people love to use, and people would love to know more about it. Most importantly, how to grow them. People want to have it. Some people will say Garcinia cola, it scares away snake and the likes. And Pterocarpus also it does a lot of wonder in terms of screen treatment. So these I've talked about that we train about 150 foresters during this 8-year project. So many of them are actually men, but it's quite necessary for us to engage women in forestry. So now the skills that we have given out through this particular project serve as agent of change to carry out and promote the propagation of native trees, as well as passing on their skills. So they can pass out these skills to other people. You could see among the people that are here now, we have a lot of people from Forestry Research Institute of Nigeria, the forest officers, a lot of conservation partners, are even the students. We invited them, and we build this capacity, and they can pass it on to them. So now the 7 African countries that downloaded. So I've mentioned this before. So we are in the same tropical belt, and we have similar floristic characters. So this has boosted the use of native trees for reforestation in tropical West Africa, because a lot of people believe is God, maybe the God, I don't know, they are the one that can plant native trees. So people see them as something that could not be done by people. So, and now the highest number of downloads were from Nigeria. This is quite expected, maybe because they carry out the project within the country. And it might also be associated with the official language of the majority of downloading countries. So that was the reason why we plan that, okay, this the online manner of tree propagation could be translated to French, just to help some other speaking languages to help on that area. So the saplings from this project, as I've mentioned this also, they were planted in Tree Heritage Park, in which we call the Noah's Ark. That is what we call it in here. So now in January 2022, so this Tree Heritage Park is now internationally recognized through a Level 2 accreditation awarded by the ABNet Arboretum Accreditation Program and the Mouton Arboretum for meeting identified standards of professional practices important for arboretum and botanic gardens. So this THP now is now the 500th accredited arboretum in the world, but first in Africa, and one of only 11 arboretums to achieve such feats in Africa. So because of this project now, so Nigeria could be boast of having an accredited arboretum here in Ibadan. So in which the diversity of trees we have there is increasing on a yearly basis. It's increasing on it because the project is still ongoing. We still continue with this project. So we've mentioned about this particular slide also, like talking about those ones that are leading in the highest number of downloads. So you can see this gambia, I don't know what they call in other language, but it's star apple. It's a fruit that is common in Africa. People eat it a lot. And tetraflora is a very good spice for women, most importantly. And bitter cola, elderly people love to take it because it clears the throat. People that sings love to take it a lot, and it's quite expensive. It's quite expensive. Now, a fruit of Garcinia cola now, just a fruit, 200 naira, you can buy. That was the last time that I think the price of fuel has not increased up to this. So we have the black camel, the camel that I said, this can treat a lot of skin problem, and it's good for babies also. They are valued both locally and internationally for their fruits, pharmaceutical and cosmetic, so as mentioned. So now the integration of non-timber product native trees into reforestation project might help to amend deforestation practices, as people are more likely to protect trees that yield quick economic return. So now in IITA and some other areas that we do reforestation program, so we've been incorporating the planting of, most importantly, the local vegetables, then based on certain specific area. So this has to do with location specific. So sometimes some people prefer some forest spinach. Some people will say they want uziza, which is a Piper guinensis. So, and the walnut. So if you have an established tree, so you can plant walnut very close to an established tree. So this will bring money in within 3 to 4 years. So sometimes some walnut fruit within 3 years. So this will bring returns, economic returns within few times. So people will now say, okay, there's a reason for me to protect this tree rather than me cutting it because it's holding something that will bring money into my pocket. So you could plant a lot of wrapping leaves, a lot of even you can get some very reasonable non-timber forest product from the forest. So any reforestation program one is doing, try to put that. Though we have some challenges and limitations during this project. So one of the challenges is the bad roads. So sometimes we're going, so we need to like take another route when the roads are quite bad in some of the forest areas. Sometimes we take bike, so just to access some forest reserve that we visited. So this is another issue again. Sometimes they will say a forest is somewhere, and we get there, it's a cleared forest. There will be no forest there. So we'll just be looking around, and we need to go to another forest that is there. Then insecurity. Also, we have the insecurity problem. Sometimes we'll be traveling, then they tell us that don't come here now. There's a lot of people having issue with security. And another thing is, again, is this. So the climate change. So this is has affected some of the tree phenology. So sometimes a tree is supposed to fruit in December. It will not fruit that year. It will fruit the following year. So this is attributed to the climate change. So maybe the tree is not having, maybe I don't know the number of water, the rain, or things have changed in terms of phenology. So this has affected most especially the pioneer species. So we found this out for some of the mahoganies, found it out for some of the obeche tree, the iroko tree. This happens. So now some iroko supposed to fruit in February, March next year. So you will see instead of like we have in IITA close to 90 individual trees. So you will just see that out of the 90, maybe 20 or 25 will fruit. So that is one of the issue that is like a kind of challenges or limitation that we face during this project. So the conclusion, so you say you think globally, act locally. So the impact of this project indicates its significance, and we recommend its adoption in areas where practical information about the propagation and planting of native tree species is needed to benefit local communities and their environment, to reduce the invasion of non-native tree species. So I need to tell us now this a little impact that you could do, like plant a small tree, a local tree in your backyard. So there's a lot of local trees that you can put in your backyard, and it's going to make a lot of difference. So most importantly, the fruit trees. So we have among these 55 species that are fruit trees, and one can make a lot of, it can give a lot of benefits for this. And one can combine a lot of conservation metrics also to ensure that you have success, and also a kind of monitoring and evaluation. So, and this project is a continuous one. We are still sustaining the project. We are increasing the number of threatening trees that we are working on. So our acknowledgement goes to the Leventis Foundation. We thank them a lot, the Australian head. So we are grateful for all their support, and the Botanical Garden Conservation International. So we appreciate the ABNet and the Mohammed bin Zayed Species Conservation Fund. So they supported us during this project, and Stanley Smith Horticultural Trust. So, and every member of the IIT Forest Center, our team. So we appreciate them, and I appreciate my boss, Dr. Adewale. I appreciate him and my other team members, my colleagues, Ademola, and also our boss that she left, like Mrs. Deniban, she left. So we started the project together before she left. So, and we appreciate everyone. Thank you for listening.